Chile, with the free trade agreements.
Chile.
Nuestro país es un verdadero oasis.
This week, Chile. It's the birthplace of neoliberalism, but will it also be the death of it?
Capitalism, conservative economics,
Reaganomics.
Capitalism
with the gloves off.
The neoliberal assault against much of the population of the world pretty much began in Chile. That was one of the opening shots. And the legacy is severe, extended over much of the world, the United States as well.
And while under Pinochet it was a failure, post-dictatorship, the economy has performed better than its neighbours.
¿En qué usted cree que acertó?
Sí, porque la cosa se fue para arriba. Y nadie la rechazó. Y ahora mismo que hemos cambiado gobierno, los gobiernos aceptan la parte como economía. Les ponen nombre, otras cosas, a justificar, pero en el fondo están haciendo lo que se les hizo.
I mean, we have a system in Chile where we have private subsidized system who receives money for the state.
And of course, the economic policies are going to be different if you have a right-wing politician or a left-wing politician or something like that. But everybody knows what are the rules of the game.
Keep your macroeconomy imbalance in check.
Be responsible. Address the demands of the people, but do it in a responsible way.
Well, I think it all comes down to doing things right.
May 21st, you had protests in the port city there with people thinking they don't have access to higher education.
Well, you know that some people are going to protest, always. And maybe because they are students, they want to have all the solutions right now, immediately for everybody, and unfortunately, that's not possible. But let me tell you something. We have increased our investment in education.
Spending, is that right?
Excuse me?
This sounds like more public spending.
No. That's an old way of thinking. It doesn't mean more public spending. It means basically more private investment in those areas. But the public sector has to create the conditions. And in Chile, we have basically a private economy.
Now, also, one of your priorities when you took office in 2014 was education reform, and especially ways to try and make that free. Why do you think it's been met with resistance in Chile?
Well, you know what happens? Because what we have done, first of all, I mean, everybody was...
That goes to prove that maybe Milton was right. The market determines fair value, but fair value is too much value for the students and their families.
Chile is really something special. If you look at what they've done, how far they've come, you look at how well run the country is, so I just want to say it's an honor to be with you. A great honor. Thank you very much.
A bit of context. In Chile's radically neoliberal privatopias, people are on their own, and therefore we have a profoundly segregated society. You get the educational quality you can afford, the health care quality you can afford, the pension you manage to save for yourself on your own. You are radically on your own.
Chile is a very expensive country. I mean, medicines and a number of things are as expensive as they are in Europe, but wages are a fraction.
El 50% de las personas que trabajan en Chile reciben 400.000 pesos o menos por hacerlo.
Es que no podéis seguir esperando que nos sigan subiendo las cosas. Nosotros decimos, ya, súbanla, pero súbanlo los sueldos. Porque los sueldos siguen ahí.
But in the long run, it pays off. Chile has doubled its per capita income.
Logramos pasar de ser los chilenitos a ser el país de mayor ingreso per cápita de Latinoamérica.
And I've never in my life, other than in the Middle East, where Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, some of those Middle Eastern countries, I've never seen such a massive accumulation, concentration of wealth in the hands of so few people.
Chile es el sexto país con más millonarios del planeta. En ningún país europeo, excepto Francia y Alemania, hay tantos ricos como acá.
The 90% of all of the pharmacies are owned by two conglomerates.
La impunidad en que queda finalmente la colusión de las farmacias.
The fishing business, the seafood business, is a huge business. They have a 2,700-mile coastline. for conglomerates.
Después de esta ley que entregó licencias de pesca por más de 700 millones de dólares anuales a las mismas empresas que financiaron, tanto legal como ilegalmente, a decenas de políticos, mientras les daban instrucciones a algunos de ellos sobre cómo votar, qué decir y cómo actuar.
In the logging industry, you have 3 or 4 conglomerates, oftentimes it's family interest, that own all of the logging interest.
Por la colusión en el mercado del papel tisú, usted se recordará, tras entre ellos haberse asignado cuotas de participación en el mercado y haber fijado precios de venta de estos productos entre los años 2000 y 2011.
Entonces, esto es notable. ¿Cómo Chile se volvió tan caro en 20 años? Porque es muy caro, o sea...
Sin que haya inflación.
Exacto. Y tienes el país más caro en relación de consumo y sueldo del continente.
La única fórmula que se me ocurre es que el precio estaba puesto alto desde el principio.
Hay una marginación, digámoslo conceptualmente, hay una marginación muy alta en la configuración de precio. Dicho en fácil, te cobran demasiado caro por lo que no vale.
Chile is a country where the rule of law and the quality of government and the regulatory apparatus are at OECD levels.
Though we should point out, as a member of the Industrialized Nations Club, the OECD, Chile is actually the lowest ranked nation.
Just 1% of the population holds nearly a quarter of the country's wealth, while the bottom half collectively just owns 2%, and they have very little chance of escaping poverty.
The reason, by the way, that you have this miracle performance in Chile is because they're tailgating China. China needs everything they got.
China has now become the main destination for Chilean exports.
Chile is the world's top exporter of high-quality copper, and China has a rapidly growing demand, given its pace of industrialization.
So important is copper to the world's #1 producer and exporter of the metal that any fluctuation in the price affects every sector of the economy.
We'll take you straight to the White House. The President of the United States announcing new trade tariffs against China. Let's listen in.
Las dos economías que más han visto damnificadas con esta guerra comercial son Arabia Saudita, exportador neto de petróleo, y Chile, exportador neto de minerales, sobre todo de cobre.
The coronavirus has spread to countries across the world, but officials believe that it all started in Wuhan, China.
Bueno, ¿qué tiene que ver un virus con la economía? Harto, según vemos los indicadores.
What investment there is tends to be mining primarily. How do you plan on turning around the perception that Chile is a place to take money out of rather than invest into?
The Chilean model has been celebrated as a successful free market model, and yet we saw that accidents like the one we have just witnessed are possible. Does the Chilean model have to change?
Muchos países de la región, el modelo chileno hasta aquí o hasta esta semana, cuando empezaron todas estas movilizaciones, era visto como un modelo de empuje y de crecimiento.
Puras mentiras, mentiras. Ahora se está viendo realmente la realidad de lo que pasa en este país. Ya basta de tanto abuso, de la burla que están haciendo, todo.
Una nueva alza en las cuentas de un servicio básico se registrará durante este mes.
Las cuentas de la luz, que aumentarán en promedio entre 10,5% en mayo y otro 8% en junio por cobros retroactivos.
Y la utilidad que tienen estas empresas por ley es del 10%.
¿Cómo usted hoy por hoy está pagando una de las aguas, una de los vasos de agua, una de las regadas del patio, en fin, más caras del mundo?
Y mantiene un piso de ganancia del 7%. Esta es la antidemocracia. Esta es la política neoliberal económica que se aplica en Chile y que necesita una democracia excluyente, limitada.
Es una economía dominada por una élite donde predominan no los auténticos empresarios, sino que los rentistas.
El hecho de que un mayor PIB per cápita implique necesariamente más progreso es una falacia para muchos economistas. De hecho, hay quienes sostienen que el surgimiento del descontento y de los movimientos sociales responde a este reduccionismo, como lo llaman.
Con este estallido social, ¿usted cree que lo que se cuestiona profundamente es el modelo económico neoliberal?
Bueno, yo creo que no cabe duda, ¿no? La mayoría de la gente está pidiendo cambio a la Constitución, es decir, por tanto, cambio del modelo neoliberal. Por otro que hay que construir, pues no se sabe exactamente cómo debe ser el otro.
And in leading the protest against it, Chileans are providing a model that others should support and pursue themselves.